Hello authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with author and interviewer Monique Mulligan, and she's going to be sharing her insights into the publishing collective, what that publishing model is, its advantages and disadvantages, and she shares advice to authors who are looking to start their own publishing collective as well. So in my author adventure this past fortnight, as you can hear, I am back to my chipper old self. I was recovering from COVID this past fortnight. Literally knocked me on my ass for 2 weeks. Obviously I was feeling crappy prior to the positive result, and then during and then after, it still just lingered for ages. The fatigue, I actually went to the doctors just to ask if it was normal, because I sort of started off with obviously the fatigue, and then it went into my chest and I was coughing up loads of crap, and yeah, I just felt really crappy. I never had a temperature, which was what all my kids had for a couple of days, and then my husband caught it, so yeah, and then it's only been this week that I've managed to bounce back and feel a lot better, feel more human, that's for sure. You definitely take your health for granted, I think, and then when something comes along and exactly knocks you on your ass, you feel grateful for how good you do feel normally. So that's where I was with the COVID sickness thing. So yeah, this week I've managed to get back into the swing of things, obviously with the day job. And what I've come to notice is I've been feeling, I'm here, there and everywhere, it feels like, with some of the stuff that I work on, because effectively I'm looking for a traditional deal with children's fiction, I write non-fiction, and I do the podcast, and there's a lot of aspects to my author career. And the way that I work, I thought, you just stick to one thing, get it done. But I think the way that I work, and in my day job as a technical scriptwriter, I manage about 15 to 20 projects, sometimes all at once. I'm quite good at jumping all over the place, and I think that's a strength of mine. So what I've done is I've sat down to put together a weekly schedule that doesn't change, and it's quite basic to just say, like, this day I'm working on non-fiction, Fridays are for podcast, this is for that. There'll be a lot more. I'll probably get into the scheduling and that process a lot deeper further down the track, but it's just actually sitting down to make a schedule of the way that my week works. My energy for the week also came into it, and the specific days that I can attempt to do things. So I'll slowly be progressing forward in each of these sections on specific days, rather than one project working through it. And anyway, that's the process I'm going to tackle for me at the moment, and so far so good, I think. So Thursday came around and that's my non-fiction day, and I went gung-ho with the audio recording for Author Fears and How to Overcome Them, and I've been waiting to do this recording for weeks now, but it's been tough because I've had my husband in the house and I've had my kids, then we've been sick, and I only have really Thursdays and Fridays to be able to record audio when there's no one around. So yeah, I was super excited to get that done, because with the non-fiction formatting that you've been hearing about for bloody weeks now, that is what's been holding me back, because I need this audio book, because I've got the other audio book for freelance writing, Quick Tips for Fast Success, recorded, but I'm going to have them sort of, a little snippet from each at the back of the books, so people who have read that one might like the other one, and vice versa. So that's finally done, yippee! I was celebrating that, so I can keep on going with the formatting for all these things. I did finally receive the print version for Author Fears and How to Overcome Them. If you've listened to past episodes the past few weeks, had some issues with uploading the files to Ingram, getting error codes and things like that. And then I work with software Vellum, and Vellum is compatible with Ingram when you generate print files. So yeah, anyway, that all came together, but I've received the print version, and from the beginning of my print journey with this book, it's at a fantastic place. It's where I want it to be. It's, it's all great, but the images were a little faded. So I've gotten back in touch with Ingram and they're looking into that now. So it's holding up a bit more, but it's all trial and error, this whole self-publishing process. It really is. So it's good that we can open the conversation up about it and talk these things through and help each other out when someone else is doing this. And yeah, we could all share, so someone else's experience helps another. So anyway, you'll be pleased to know that all the formatting is slowly going, and yeah, it's all coming together, which is great. So if you love the podcast or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward or by buying me a coffee over at www.buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. So that's enough about me. Let's crack on with the episode. Monique Mulligan is an author, interviewer, and founder of the Stories on Stage programme in Perth. A former journalist, news editor, and publisher, she combines part-time work at an art centre with freelance editing and novel writing. Her debut novel, Wherever You Go, was published in September 2020, and her second novel, Wildflower, is out now. Simply stunning bio, Monique. Welcome to the Hybrid Author podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you are a super talented lady. How is it you settled into the writing and publishing industry?
That's probably a long sort of, answer I could give. The short answer is I've always done writing in different forms in my career. So I wrote a curriculum for a company over in Sydney, and I've been a journalist and, a news editor, and then went into publishing books with a business partner. And so it's kind of happened in a really nice circular way. But what I really always wanted to do, I was reviewing books for other people for so long, but I always wanted to write my own. And eventually the circle turned that way for me.
Oh, wonderful. That's amazing. Well, we could talk about so many things together today, but the focus we've decided to have the talk on is publishing collectives. So you are currently published with Pilyara Press for your 2 books. Can you tell us what the definition of a publishing collective means to Pilyara?
Well, Pilyara Press was established a few years ago by a team of 4 people who had been traditionally published, but they wanted to take back control of their books. And they set up this collective of the 4 of them to show a different way of publishing that doesn't have to, it still follows certain aspects of the traditional publishing route, but it is still very different. So this collective means bringing together skills from these diverse authors and pooling the skills to put out the collective's books.
Wow, that's incredible. And do you know if this is like a new term, or has this been around for a while, or this kind of model? It's the first time I've heard of publishing collective.
Yeah, look, I hadn't heard of it before until I was approached by someone in the collective a couple of years ago. And I don't really know of any within Australia, and I suppose there are other collectives, but I think they would all take their own form. Pilyara Press they're a member of the Small Press Network. They are considered an independent publishing company, and so it has that behind it as well. But it's really just a way to get these books out in a way that we are happy with, and having that control of it, but then still going through that entire rigorous publishing process to make sure the books are the best they can be.
Yeah, wow. So with the publishing collective, is it the people involved whose books generally are the ones that get printed, or is the publishing collective acting as a traditional publisher and taking on authors outside of the individuals working in the company?
Yeah, so at the moment we are just publishing the books of the members of the collective.
Right.
So that's plenty of work for us to do at the moment. Some of us are still working, at different, some are full-time, part-time. Others are writing full-time and have contracts with other publishing houses as well. And so, we don't have the scope right now to take submissions and to publish other people's books. So there's about 9 of us in the team, and at any given time, one person may be going through that publishing process and the others might be all a little bit quiet because maybe they've got their heads down writing at that moment. But when it's their turn to step up and do something, then they'll do, the thing that they're really good at. For example, it could be that they are one of the team's copywriters or copy editors, and so they would take on that copy editing role for the person's book.
Okay, so yeah, tell us about Pilyara Press and what's the processes involved. Does each person have, like you said, if you're a competent copywriter, that's your skill, that's what you bring to the table. So when your skill is called upon, that's what you put in as such. Does it work that way? Or
Yeah, kind of. And it's very flexible because, life is happening all around us as well. And so we try to have a publishing schedule that means not too many books are coming out at the same time. That's one thing we would be looking at. But let's just say with my book, Wildflower, that came out, been working in between and juggling, book launching and book touring and talking and writing interviews with work. And so sometimes I don't know which part of my brain to use. But so with Wildflower, once the collective decided, yes, this is a book we would like to publish, then I would be working on it myself until it's ready to go to a structural editor. So there's a couple of people in the team who are qualified structural editors, and so it would go to one of those people to go through. And so it might be a few months of working with that structural editor backwards and forwards, going on to polish the book up into the best format, make sure there's no plot holes, make sure everything makes sense, that it works the way that I as a writer wanted it to. And that's a really valuable process because, we can ring each other up and have a good long chat about it if I'm struggling, and sometimes have those lovely conversations where they say, wow, this is amazing, and that's always great too. So it's a very encouraging and empowering part of that process. And then back to me, and I work on the book and get it to that point where it is ready for copy editing. And then it goes to one of the team's copy editors, whoever's available at that time. And we would book that in months ahead. So we can't just say, hey, can you, Joe, can you do this next week? Is that all right? It's all planned properly, scheduled in so that we can make sure there's no conflicts with other things going on. Then it would go through that copy editing process and then come back to me, and I would fix that. And if there's any queries, you have that same back and forth process. And then it comes back to me for fixing, and then it goes to get typeset. And the typeset gets done by another person who's skilled at that typesetting process. And then it goes back to me and to the proofreader. And the proofreader goes through the entire book with a very, very, eagle eye. We have an incredible proofreader on our team, Jesney King, and she just does not miss anything. And then I would proofread it as well, and it goes back, all the little errors, if there are any, they get fixed up. And then it's on to that, making the documents ready, or the files ready for uploading. And we've got, in the background, the cover's getting designed, and we might talk to the team about, do you like this design? Do you think it fits with the synopsis of the book, and that kind of thing. Ultimately, it's my decision which cover I go for, but we do, I suppose, talk about that as a team as well to make sure that the cover we have, really represents the book the best it can be. Same with writing the blurb. We all sort of put in our 2 cents when it comes to writing the blurb. There's that aspect as well.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. Yeah. So many questions arising from all that. I guess Publishing Collective is, to me, probably different than, say, the traditional model, because you guys are keeping a lot of control, I suppose, of your book still, but then you're still consulting, working with a team and another group of professionals and consulting them on the various aspects. And it's still a collaborative process. And I guess, to me, like, the point of it is to work together to create beautiful books and your own stuff as well, and putting it out there. So is there plans to, as you've sort of said before, no one's got the capacity at the moment to take on authors outside of the Publishing Collective? Is that something that a Publishing Collective would look at doing anyway, or not so much?
They might, and we might. At the moment, no. And I will say, like, for most of that process, it is very similar to the traditional publishing process, because, you do have that editorial team that goes through the book and works with the author. Where it differs is right at the end, when it comes to distribution. and that marketing of the book. We do some in-house marketing, but ultimately it rests mostly back on the author. And so, it's up to me then to get my book onto different places. I try to get it into as many libraries as I can. I try to organise a book tour and reviews and all of those things. And that part of it is on me. We don't have the distribution capacity to go exactly like the traditional model. So there are definitely similarities with the traditional model. And the people who are in the collective are all very skilled people. So they've been carefully chosen to make sure that we have the skills that we need, because there's no point having, everyone who can write and no one who can edit, or, everyone who can edit and no one who knows how to format the book. So it's so important, and I feel so honoured and privileged to be part of something like this.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. So is there one main person who started the collective and then sourced the team and went from there? Did you know?
Jennifer Sculler is a best-selling author, and I think she sort of leads that team, and we call her the publisher.
Yeah.
And she is very well known as a traditionally published author of fantastic books. And in fact, I reviewed many of her books, and several members of the original team. I reviewed all their books, years before we came together in this kind of way. And so the four of them that original group were very good friends, and they met and decided to form this collective. But then they decided to expand, and that's where I came in. I was fortunate to be invited in by one of them because I had editorial skills, and it was that opportunity to get Wherever You Go, my first book, to get it published right when I was thinking it was never going to happen.
And so you said, obviously, do you pitch, as authors, you pitch the ideas to the publishing collective as a group, and then can people say, no, that doesn't suit? Are you guys trying to, there's obviously a brand involved, are you trying to stick with that with Pilyara Press? Or
well, I mean, I think that if we were to write something that really didn't quite fit, for example, although some of us have published children's fiction, we're not really doing that through the collective. If we wanted to write, say, I don't know, erotica, maybe we would think that wasn't quite the right fit for the collective. But if you have a look at the books that we have published, we've got contemporary fiction, we've got some historical fiction, we've got some very Australian fiction. There's books that don't fit into a genre quite so well because they're contemporary fiction, but they're more about, perhaps they're more a literary fiction style of book. And we'll be doing some poetry as well, and some memoir. So it is quite a range. We're not saying we will only publish books set in Australia, that have romantic elements or anything like that. It's not like that at all. I think that if there was a book that didn't seem to fit, perhaps we wouldn't even pitch it to the team anyway.
So pitching a book that you feel would fit, is it kind of like a vote? Does everybody sort of be like, yeah, we love that, that's great, not sure about that?
I haven't experienced
not really come up like that yet.
It hasn't really happened that way yet, because quite a few books were already published through the collective, and they had been previously published by traditional publishers before, but these writers had got their rights back, and then they had relaunched them through Pilyara Press. So there was quite a good list of books on there already before I came along, and Wherever You Go did fit in that. And it's not to say that if we wrote a book that we felt we could sell to a bigger publisher, that would give us a hefty advance or something like that. Jennifer Sculler likes to say, I can be bought,
Yeah.
And so, and she is currently getting books published with Penguin Random House. And, I would feel the same way if they said, we would love to do this, then that would be great. It's just that when it came to Wherever You Go, this was a really good opportunity to get one book out there. And then I decided to leave Wildflower here because I wasn't ready to jump back on. I could have gone to a different publisher, and I did actually pitch it to publishers in an earlier form and got some really great feedback about it, which was saying it just needs to go deeper. We love the characters, we love this, you need to go deeper. And actually it was with one publisher for 17 months and
Wow.
I hadn't had a response to it. And by this time, I had already made the decision to publish it through Pilyara Press because I thought, look, I don't have the energy right now to, start pitching again to new publishers. I had already figured out that it needed some work and I knew what I wanted to do with it. So it just seemed logical to leave it with Pilyara Press. And about a week after I made that decision, this email came through from this other publisher and they said, we've read your book and we really loved it and we particularly liked the characters and the setting and you've done this really well, but we feel that it's not quite ready and it needs some more depth and layers added to it. Part of me kind of went, I wonder if I should resubmit it to them once I've finished the work, but then I just decided not to. Thought, no, I'm going to leave it with Pilyara Press at this point. And I'm so glad I did. I'm really happy with how the book is being received and with the work that went into it. And maybe it could have been picked up elsewhere, but it was just the right thing to do to leave it where it was.
Yeah. And I think, did you draw on, I'm very much a gut feeling person. Was that, are you the same? Like your gut sort of telling you, no, this is where it belongs. This it should be with the other book. And
yes and no. Like, I think I do often go with the gut in that, there's part of me that does think I would have liked to have gone with this particular book with a publisher with a wider distribution model than we have. Because it's really difficult I can't get it into bookshops as easily. I have to approach the bookshops and ask them. And that's a lot of time and effort I can't do that with every bookshop in the country. But the distribution model that a traditional publisher would use wouldn't work for me the way I've published the book now, because I don't have then the funds to buy, say, 2,000 books and then have them possibly put into bookshops or not, or the bookshops send them back and you've wasted all that money. So this model is working well for the moment. I don't know. Let's just see what happens with it. You can still go places.
Yeah, that's it.
But where it is now, it's finding readers, and I feel like it was the right decision at the time for me to make.
Yeah, wonderful. So I feel like some of the advantages and disadvantages of kind of arose as we've been talking, but are you able to share, doing this publishing collective, like what's been the advantages and if there has been any disadvantages, I suppose?
Well, I suppose the advantages really outweigh any disadvantages, because I've got an amazing team of women around me that, if we start to get in that mood where you're putting yourself down a little bit, and they'll go, remember, we are magnificent, and it's just like, and it's almost like you've got to pay $1 every time you put yourself down, and one of the team members actually did donate $1 into the kitty, which was really funny. But we have this encouraging and empowering group around us. So what more could I want really to be trying to get a book out there, to be living like most creative people do, with that little self-doubt that sits on your shoulder all the time, but to have that group there who's got your back, and they are not interested in putting out a substandard book. And if it's not ready, they'll tell you it's not ready.
Yeah.
That's such an advantage to have there. Then you look at the team and the people we've got on the team. We've got Jennifer, we've got Jen McLeod, we've got Lily Malone, and we've got Desney King, who's the proofreader I mentioned earlier, and beautiful, absolutely beautiful writer. All of them are beautiful, gifted writers. There's Kate Bell, who wrote a book quite a few years ago now, and is now working on getting that re-released. Shelley Kenningsberg, who is you won't recognise her as a writer, but she's a phenomenal editor. All these skills in kind of scattered all over Australia. But to have that, what an advantage is that to have on your team, rather than me having to go, all right, I need to find an editor. I need to pay this editor loads and loads of money to do this. And then I've got to find someone else because I want it to be the best it can be. Like, I would have spent thousands of dollars before the book was out,
Yeah, so it's money saving as well. Wow. Yeah.
It's definitely, because we're
exactly,
we all expected to do our bit and to contribute in some way to the team to make sure that each book can come out in a good way. Yeah, I mean, other advantages, I think I've kind of shared what most of those are, because it's just having that skill and knowledge base and experience. We all come from quite different backgrounds, but some of the writers in this group have extensive histories in publishing. And so, ask a question, I'll have the answer. That's a really a really good thing. And then disadvantages, I would say it's really just the distribution model. We're working with what works for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've looked at other options, but really this is what works for us. That distribution is on each individual author in the collective. But wouldn't it be great if we could get our books out there into all of these other places so that people did go into department stores and go, oh, I'd like to read that book, because that can't happen for us quite so easily. Some of the authors have got really long histories of a fan base. You know, they've got their readership already there for them, so they know they're going to sell loads of books when they put out a new one. But others of us are newer, so we are still building that readership. You know, you can look at it as a disadvantage, but really I just think that I'm so grateful for what I have and the fact that I've been able to have 2 books published, and I believe that they're going to find their readers. And I believe in, you know, I believe in the books, the collective believes in the books, the readers will come.
Yeah, exactly. And it must be good as well, because obviously you're all sharing books when they come out. So it's not just you that's sort of spreading word of mouth, it's the collective as a whole. And that's, like you said, some of them are well connected and know people. And yeah, that's fantastic. So how do you work? Do you all work online, or do you meet? I suppose, like you said, you don't just phone people up to book stuff in, the stuff is all scheduled. So do you actually sit down like at the beginning or the end of the year and say, we've got this idea, how are we going to work this out? Or do you meet face to face, or is it usually just done online?
Yeah, it's pretty much online, because I mean, it would be lovely for us to meet in one place, but we all live all over Australia. COVID has definitely affected any ideas of, you know, for a long time, any ideas of traveling and even sometimes leaving the house for some of the members of the group. So we do everything online. And I'd say it's a work in progress. You know, we don't necessarily start at the beginning of the year. It's more of a, okay, who's got books coming up? And then we'll project manage them as we need to. It has been a little bit of a quiet time for us. I think I'm the only one with a book out currently, but that's because of many reasons. You know, as I mentioned before, like life is going on around us. And so we're not all writing now or full time. There's a couple of people who are writing full time and they're working on other projects. And there's some who taking a break from writing altogether and just happy to help in other ways within the collective. And it just depends on where we're all at. But yeah, obviously we would be talking about what's coming up and trying not to all just go, oh, by the way, guys, got a new book coming out. You know, it's much more collaborative than that.
Wow. So what is your advice for authors who would think this sounds amazing and then maybe like to start their own publishing collective? Do you have any tips?
I mean, I've never heard of this before, as we were saying earlier, until I was approached by somebody, and I actually thought, you know, I was like, really? Is this a real thing? You know, is this actually going to be useful for me? Like, what's it going to cost? You know, and all these questions went through my head. So I guess it's a matter of assembling a group of people who have skills to offer. And I don't mean, you know, just new to it. You want to surround yourself, if you're really serious about getting good quality books out there, you need people who definitely know how to proofread, and they know that proofreading isn't just looking for spelling mistakes and typos. It's a, you know, much bigger process than that. And the people who we've got on the team have spent, you know, 20, 30 years doing this. You want to find people who do have the skills to offer, and you need to have a diverse set of skills. Like I said, you can't all be proofreaders. It's useful if you can all do some proofreading, but you also need somebody who can, I guess, format the books for you. And you need someone who can do a structural edit and is willing to read through and look at the big picture of a story. So it's having those different roles fulfilled so that you have all got something to give and not one person is doing all the work.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's fantastic. Definitely something to think about. Yeah. So let's talk about your 2 contemporary fiction novels that you have out with Pilyara Press. Can you tell us about them, and how is your author adventure going since you put them out?
Yeah, it's going really well, actually. It's been exciting, and it's always nerve-wracking, you know, when you're out there trying to get your book read by people and waiting for them to come back with reviews and stuff like that. And then, you know, there's also this degree of acceptance that once you put a book out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And so, you know, it's a learning process for you the whole way of being an author. And I think that goes up and down. And so my journey is a little bit of that at the moment, because I've just got a new book out. And so it's just like, oh, what do they think of this new book? And, did they like it? And then you go, oh, thank you, they did.
Well, I've
They
seen the
got it.
reviews coming in, and I think everyone loves it.
It's look, they're both very different books. Wherever You Go is a contemporary fiction story of I suppose a marriage that's in crisis after something terrible happens that affects the marriage. And the way they both react to that crisis is very, very different. And so it's the story of this couple who moved to a small town in Western Australia, and they need to learn to heal in their own ways. It has lots of food in it. It's definitely a foodie's kind of delight. There are feasts. It's like an armchair travel book also, because the feasts are set in different, they're not set in different parts of the world, but they're like virtually in different parts of the world. And I really enjoyed writing that book, and thought that maybe I'd write a sequel to it next, but instead Wildflower came out. And Wildflower is completely different to Wherever You Go, although the similarity is they both tackle darker topics. So the first one was looking at grief and loss, and this one is looking more at the generational impact of domestic violence. That story was already, the basic manuscript was already written. I drafted it several times, and I had it there sitting, in the drawer, waiting for that time to come back to it. When I was writing, I was trying to write a sequel to Wherever You Go, which I'd never intended to do. It was always intended to be a one-off book, but all the readers are going, are you going to write another one? And I was like, okay, if that's what they want. But you learn, or I learned, that you have to write what your heart tells you to write. And if your heart's not in what you're writing, it's really hard to make it work. And it wasn't working. So Wildflower is set in the 70s and the 90s, and it's a story of friendship. It's a story of, I guess, women helping women. It's a story that looks at women's roles in society at those times, and also makes the reader ask, how far have we come since then? And I'm really proud of this book. It's a book from the heart, and I hope that women read it, and and men read it as well, and that it makes them think.
Yeah, well, they sound fantastic. So you're saying your readers are like, we want a second book to the first one, but obviously you've gone with Wildflower. Has readers come over?
Yeah.
The people that were shouting second book, but then they've read that one and been like, oh yeah.
Definitely. And it's been great to have that support from people. I mean, there's always going to be people who won't. It's like some people, their favorite thing to read might be romance, and that's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just that if you're not writing that, then you're not going to be the right author for them. And you have to know that some readers will follow you wherever you go. They will, definitely read whatever you write, because they like the way that you write and they like your voice, and others will be more driven by the genre that you're writing.
That's it. So what can we expect from Monique Mulligan to come in the future? More books?
I hope so. I think it's sort of, maybe like recently I've started to realize that I need some self-care at the moment. Wildflower does deal with some tough themes, and it's, I was working on the edits of that book while I was working full time and trying to juggle a lot. So literally working 7 days a week for months. I need a bit of time to breathe after I've done all the kind of talking about the book at different things that I'm doing. And I need to see my family. They're all over East. So I need to devote time to catching up with people I haven't been able to see for a while. So I'm not sure how much writing I'll get done in the first half of the year. And I hope to kind of, after I've given myself a break, I think I'll come back to it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a sequel to Wherever You Go, because I have a 60,000 word manuscript already in progress, and I may go to that one instead.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you follow your passion wherever you go. And I think that's really important, because, you don't want writing to be this hard slog. And so I'm the same. I've got to write what I want. I can't write what someone else effectively wants me to. Else, no.
That's right. And that's another advantage of that publishing collective when you think about it, because sometimes some of the authors who are in there, and they might have contracts and have expectations from a publisher to write a certain way, but they want to try something different. Like, let's just say they want to write a mystery or a crime novel, but they're known for writing really great small town fiction. And so that's what their publisher is going to want from them, and they know that sells. But they really want to write this crime book. Well, then this is where perhaps it can work to have that book in a different genre come out. And I've seen several of the authors in the collective do that because that works for them. So you're not kind of as stuck. And I know a lot of authors, like, it's an evolution being an author. You might start by writing one thing, and then over the years you go, well, now that I've done that, I want to write something else. And your publisher says, no, like, if you're going to do that, you got to go elsewhere and get back on the merry-go-round and find someone new. For the people in this collective, we have those options to go, well, we're not going to go here with this book. We're going to stay here because maybe it's a harder sell in the commercial market.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've spoke to someone about this before, because obviously when you publish, and like you said, for selling purposes, that traditional publishers put you out as, this person, and then they've hooked a readership with that. They want to keep going and building and everything. You're kind of boxed in on what you want. And I know some traditional authors then approach other publishers because they want to write different things, and it doesn't necessarily work out that way. So freedom. It sounds like Publishing Collective. It's almost like it's the best of both worlds, really. Yeah, it's very different from the hybrid author, which is like, for me, looking for a traditional publishing deal, and then publishing myself, but using, like you said, I outsource cover designer, outsource editor. Yeah, no, it's definitely it's wonderful.
Right. And it's really a hybrid way of publishing, isn't it? When you look at it, because it's using those aspects of the traditional publishing that work. And then it's saying, but we're going to allow this freedom in it as well, so that if I want to market it to death and use every marketing tool that there is known, and I've got unlimited money to kind of do that, then that's up to me to do that.
That's it. And you can almost make the rules as well. Like, you can all have these different skill sets and say, we're going to do this or do that. So it's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for making us aware of this other option, the Publishing Collective, and for your expertise. It's just wonderful. So where can our listeners run out and buy, wherever you go, and Wildflower?
So the best place to run would be to your computer, because you'll find it in all online bookshops, including Booktopia, Book Depository. You can find it in print and ebook from all of those places. You can ask your library to order it in. Quite a few libraries are already stocking the books, but you can ask them to order it in if it's not there. You can also ask bookshops to order the book in, and they're welcome to contact me, or you can buy it straight from moniquemulligan.com if you're in Australia, and I can post it to you and sign it.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Well, congratulations on all of your success, Monique, and we can't wait to read more books from you in the future.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
So there you have it, folks. The very inspiring Monique Mulligan chatting on the Publishing Collectives. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, we have Sarah Epstein, author of page-turning young adult fiction, and she's going to be chatting to us on writing suspense and hybrid authorship. Best of luck in the next fortnight with your writing and publishing and all of those endeavours in your author career. So that's it for me. It's bye for now. That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.